In 2020, Democrats took full control of Washington.
And it will give Democrats control of the Senate.
Joe Biden has been elected.
But Republicans stood up in the states.
There was no blue wave. Democratic down-ballot disasters carried all the way to the state legislatures.
Now, we're the last line of defense against the Democrats' socialist agenda. The ways we're fighting back are bigger than you think. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to It's Bigger Than You Think, a conversation about the politics that most impact our daily lives. I'm your host, Annie Moore, and joining me today, super excited, is Tracy Cramer. She's running for state representative in District 22 in Oregon, and she just won her primary not too long ago. So Tracy, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to get to talk to you.
Yeah, so can you kind of just share your story and kind of what brought you to this point here today?
So I'm born and raised in the district, in District 22, which is Jervis Brooks, Woodburn, and North Salem. I grew up in the country. I'm a total country kid. My dad was a log truck driver, and there was 4 of us, and they owned a small home that was just out in the farmland. I had the most incredible childhood. We didn't have a lot. It was very humble beginnings, as anyone could imagine, with a log truck driver and 4 children. And my mom stayed at home with us. So humble beginnings, but as a kid, it was incredible. And I ran around and just ran around the farmland that was around us. And my grandparents were hazelnut farmers. So overall, it was just an incredible experience. And I love this. I love my community. I love my neighbors. I love my people. Yeah,
it's really cool that you were born there and then you're still there. And now you're running to represent your neighbors and your community and all of those things. Yeah. What really spurred you to be like, okay, now is my time. I want to run for office. You have a couple little kids, right? I mean, I feel like that's a big decision to make.
Right. Yeah. I was sitting around and I just got so bored. No, that was not the case. Yes, we have 3 children. We have twins that just turned 3, and I have a baby that just turned 1. Oh, wow. So 3 under the age of 4. So yeah, I was not just sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I think any mom can relate to that. But I think in this year, for this particular year, is a very interesting year, especially for my district and Oregon in a whole. And so it really made me want to get involved. And of course, having 3 young kids, we got really tired of this being just a conversation in our living room. And, it comes down to, are you going to sit around and complain and talk about it? Or are you going to get out there and do something? And I didn't think that in a million years I'd be running for a political office. But I do believe that it's going to take individuals like myself to really stand up against what's going on to impact and make a difference. And how can I sit around and not do that when I have 3 young children that, of course, the decisions now are impacting our lives, but are going to, of course, impact their lives for the long haul and their future. So I really couldn't, to me, it wasn't a comfortable decision to get involved, but it was a decision of really necessity. To me, it's a necessity. And it's also, I think, my duty as a concerned citizen, a concerned mother, to really step up and to be a voice that I think needs to be heard, and it's time.
So what was it like to win your primary a few weeks ago?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was incredible. When I first was looking and when I first was putting my name in the pot, so to speak, to run for this, there wasn't anyone else for the Republican Party in District 22. And so I thought, okay, great. I'm going to just coast through the primary and everything will be great. And, this will be easy primary. Well, that wasn't the case. And actually, I believe that it was a true blessing in disguise, because I really had to get out there and I really had to do some uncomfortable things for myself. But I think it really is just prepping me for the general. I was at everything I could be at, everything. I was at all the commissioner meetings, all of the Farm Bureau meetings, everything I could be at, I was at. And so it was so crazy. It was so busy. I know a lot of moms are probably thinking, how the heck are you going to be at all these meetings when I have three children? But luckily I have my mom who's just 45 seconds away from me. So she gets to watch the kids and of course loves it. So I'm very, very fortunate, but it was so nuts. It was, you know, I don't think anybody can really be prepared for that, I guess, unless they probably have experience in politics otherwise, but it was very busy. But it was also so much fun. I got to reconnect with so many individuals that I haven't talked to, you know, in years, or haven't seen, you know, some of them I haven't seen since high school. So that aspect, it was a ton of fun. Of course, the night of the election was so exciting. I was so excited. And honestly, I just feel so honored. You know, to me, it's just, I think the voices and people are really standing up for the right candidates to be in place.
Yeah, right candidate, right message, right time.
Yep.
So, right message. What would be your number one priority that you would, if you get into office on, well, get elected on November 8th, go into office in January, what would be the number one thing that you're like, this is what we need to do?
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer that, of course, I am very concerned about education. Our particular district is, we have some of the worst rated schools in the nation. Yeah, we have some things that we really need to get involved and look at. So education is definitely a high priority for me, especially considering I have 3 young kids. And then also the insane crime rate around the area is just appalling. You know, I just read an article that said Woodburn, which is my district, was up 65% from 5 years ago.
Wow.
That's insane. How are we, you know, how are we not looking at that? What, you know, what is going on? That's just, that can't happen. So that's another big priority for me. I mean, there's a lot to really be looking at, but those are definitely concerns. And then I would say small business and just government overreach in general. We were hit very hard with COVID, myself, my husband, and just us personally. He took a 40% pay cut. So it was really, really, really difficult. And I think that we've seen that across the board, you know, just the government really massive overreach and hammering down on small businesses. And that's, you know, that, in my opinion, was a huge loss and just so unfortunate for individuals and families that are throughout the community.
Government overreach has been really prevalent in blue states for sure, Oregon definitely being one of them. Many people have just kind of written off Oregon as a blue state often in the past, whether it's a midterm or presidential or whatever that may be. What would you say about that as a Republican who's running for the state house in Oregon?
Yeah, I get where they're coming from, right? I lived here, I understand it, but I think that this is going to be a very, very different year. Clearly, I'm very involved in the community and I am out there, I'm talking to people, I'm doing, you know, door knocking and everything I could do. And people are tired of it. They are disgusted with leadership. They're, you know, on both sides, they're completely disgusted with it. And so, and as they should be. We've had failed leadership and you can see that across the board. So, you know, I wouldn't write Oregon off, not this year, you know, maybe in years past, I could see that, you know, being the topic, but I wouldn't do that so quickly this year. I think that we have some really incredible things and some things that are very, very different about this year that are going to really make a massive change. I see a lot of change coming in Oregon and a lot of incredible leadership that's really stepping up and people are tired of it. And like I said, that's across the board. So it doesn't matter, you know, what the past has looked like. We do have, you know, some good things going on and some good things coming up. And I really believe that we're going to see a lot of change in Oregon. I think that a lot is going to flip and it's going to be incredible. And I'm so excited for it. And I'm actually, it makes me so excited because it's going to be a huge turn across the nation, because I really do believe that Oregon there's a lot that's going to change, and that's going to be an eye opener for nationwide.
What issues do you think are really, you know, front of mind for the people who live in Oregon?
Well, there's so many to choose from. You know, I already touched a little bit there on, you know, the education and some of the crime that's going on. Homelessness in this area is absolutely insane. Like we've already established, I've, you know, born and raised here. I've lived here pretty much my entire life. And I'm in somewhat, maybe not the ruralest of areas, but I'm a little bit in a rural area of Oregon. And we have homeless coming out here. I think that's huge. They're overrunning our public parks. It's just gotten completely out of control. Not too long ago, there was actually an incident where a car ran into some individuals, some homeless individuals on the side of the road and killed them. Yeah. And so, at this point, it's incredibly dangerous for everyone. We're not taking care of them. We're not doing anything. We're just allowing them to do what they want. And we're honestly giving them a lot of reasons to continue to do what they want. And that's also attracting a lot of homeless individuals that are not even in Oregon. So they're coming from, probably across the entire nation to be here because it's comfortable. So I've heard a lot of talks about that. There's also larger topics that are a little bit more on the federal side as far as gas prices and the housing market. That's just total insanity. There's a lot of people that are incredibly frustrated with what is going on right now.
So the Biden administration has obviously had many crises that they've been juggling over the past, how long has it been? Year and a half, I guess. That's crazy. They've only been in office a year and a half, and this is our nation. We've had gas prices. They're hitting record high day after day. Inflation's obviously skyrocketing. Violent crime is up. Indoctrination is being pushed in schools. I'm sure, as you know, what are some Republican solutions in your state specifically that can kind of fight back against this, top-down, heavy-level federal government, overreach and radical policies?
Yeah, great question. So I think it really goes back to pulling the control locally. And really, it's just taking some good people to stand up and say no. That's all it is. And that's why I'm involved. That's why I'm involved, because I'm sick and tired of seeing this. And it's really, we're just kind of in the past, and what's going on now. I think a lot of people are lying down. There's a lot of people fighting, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of people just allowing this to happen. And so, the control has to come back to local control. It has to be given to states. It has to be given to local communities. And I honestly think that that's really the answer. I really do. I believe, once you have control locally, you can make decisions, just way easier to actually impact your community and make those changes. We're seeing a massive amount of policies that are not working, massive inflation, massive outsourcing to other countries, and outsourcing, as a state, outsourcing your power, or community outsourcing, just really everything. So we're seeing that across the board, and we're, like I said, people have allowed it to happen. So it's just stepping in and I believe that this year is it. I believe that Republicans can step in, especially, for Oregon, and be that voice and to turn things around.
As you're talking to voters at these meetings and door to door at events, all of the things, do you think that being a mom has helped you to better relate to them and better message on things like grocery prices, gas prices, education issues, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I always laugh when I'll make all these phone calls and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, like, who are you? You're a politician." I'm like, "No, I'm not a politician." I'm a concerned citizen. I'm just like these individuals. Yeah, I'm out buying, doing my things too. I'm here raising my kids in this community. I'm here looking at these schools and wondering what the heck I'm going to do about putting my kids in a school that is incredibly not up to par, by so many levels. And so, I'm just like them. I'm no different. I'm not, like I said, I laugh when somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, you're a politician." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know about that." But, I'm just a concerned citizen, just like they are. And I think I have more, and I can relate more, because these issues that are going on are directly affecting me, and more so probably my generation in a lot of ways, that I have young children that are going to be that I'm going to have to raise in this world. And yeah, and I'm running around, and yeah, I'm at the gas station and I'm buying the groceries, and I'm not buying groceries for two people. I'm buying groceries for a family of five. My husband and I just looked at finances last night, and we were like, I told him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent $130 filling up the car. And he goes, don't tell me that. I don't even want to know. And I'm like, yeah, it's just total insanity. I can't even believe sometimes the world that we're living in, and how just total insanity of leadership, but we're seeing complete failed leadership across the board. We've had enough. Americans need to be first. We need to pull this together. We need to care about our people.
Another crisis that's been added to Biden's vast list is the baby formula shortage. What do you think about that?
The fact that we have to talk about this, and the fact that there were so many issues, long ago that weren't dealt with this particular issue, just makes me shake my head. It's just there again, it's failed leadership. So there was, I looked up more of this, and I come to realize that there was this plant that was shut down, and they produced 25% of formula. So when you look at that, and you're in leadership, and you're FDA, and you're shutting them down, and you're looking at their numbers and what they're producing, why was there not a solution early on? Why was this, combed over and just thrown to the wayside, and, oh, we're not going to deal with it. We're not going to do anything about it. And now all of a sudden there's this emergency and no one has an answer. There again, it's failed leadership. It is failed leadership. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that if you shut down a plant that is producing a massive amount of baby formula for the nation, that's not going to cause, a ripple effect, which is exactly what's going on. They chose to do nothing about it for however long, who knows? And, now we're in the predicament that we're in, and it's very unfortunate. My heart goes out to families that's their situation. I just went, luckily, we don't need and didn't have to buy formula, but I did go grocery shopping, and I wanted to walk by and see what the shelves look like. This was just a handful of days ago, and yeah, they're bare. They're bare. And there was a gentleman standing there who was talking to his daughter on the phone, buying formula for his grandchildren. And it's, it just is so insane that we are going through this. And there again, Americans last, right? They clearly don't care. And it's a huge slap in the face, and it's disgusting. Although I do have to say there are great resources, I think, for individuals if they are fighting this crisis, if they're plugged into their communities. The rooms I've been in, there have been so many moms that have stood up and said that they have either some of their own pumped milk that they're willing to donate, or they maybe have excess formula that they're willing to give. There's also a lot of ways that you can make your own baby formula. So, if individuals do their own research, I know with my twins, we didn't do formula, but we did after they were about a year old, they switched to goat's milk. So, there are resources. I think that there are things that individuals can do to make sure that their babies are being fed. But it's sad, and it's a difficult situation to be in, I'm sure a lot of these are young moms, or having a baby and you're worried about feeding them. I mean, these are not the conversations that we should be having in America. We are supposed to live in the best country in the world, and here we are having these discussions of like a third world country. I mean, it's just total insanity. And there again, it's failed leadership, and honestly, I think it's that they just don't care. They blatantly don't care.
Who do you think should be held accountable for all of this?
Well, I really do believe that the Biden administration should be held at least partially accountable for the shortage. Why are we not holding these people accountable? That's the problem. We're not holding anyone accountable, and then everyone's doing whatever they want, and we're seeing the results of it. And it's just total insanity. It's not working out, and no one's happy.
How do you think that other Republicans, I feel like as a woman and you have children, it's a little bit easier probably for you to talk about it. How do you think other Republicans should really be messaging on this topic? Because it is so prevalent right now across the nation.
I thought a lot about this, and I really think that I really think that we need to come together as a community. The rooms I've been in and the people, and I know there's a lot of individuals, there's a lot of community they don't get involved or they're not in those rooms, and those are typically the ones that are hurting the most. Those are the ones that, don't have the support, or they don't have the, they're the ones that are having probably the hardest time. And so, I think it goes back to just getting in those rooms, getting involved with your local community, because people want to help people, your neighbors, your friends, whoever it is, they want to help you. And I believe that if communities come together, they're so much stronger. And like I said, so I believe that the Republicans that are in leadership or want to be in leadership need to step up and really build those communities up so that we have each other to lean on in these times of uncertainty. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
All right. Well, that was my last question. So do you have any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Prior to me doing this, I wasn't heavily involved in a lot of these rooms that I've been in recently. And I think going through this process, and clearly I have a long road ahead of me, but going through this, I am just amazed at how much and how incredible it is to see people come together and work together. And, like I said, the conversation for my husband and myself was very much of, are we going to complain and stay in our living rooms, or are we going to get out and do something about it? And, clearly we felt that we had to do something about it to make a change. But I would really encourage other individuals, of whatever walk of life, to really get involved. There are so many things you can do. You don't have to run for a public office, but you can do so many things, and we need help. If you are for a candidate in your area, or you are, you do want to support individuals, we need your help. We need volunteers. We need finances. We need help. So I think that's the biggest thing for listeners. And that's the one message I would love to push out is, don't just keep complaining about things in your living room. We have to step up and get out there. And maybe it's not in the same way that I have, but there are so many ways to help out and get involved and get into your local precinct committees and become, you can be a PCP and you can get out there and, just any little bit. And maybe it's not, maybe that's not hours upon hours, of volunteer work, or maybe that's, maybe it's all looks a little bit different, and that's totally fine. But I think that everybody, or most people, can do something, and it's going to take all of us to get out there and do something to turn this around. So I would really encourage individuals to stretch themselves a little bit, and let's build our communities back up where they need to be.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tracy. And thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform that you're listening to. And always remember that state politics have an impact that's bigger than you think.